Hey MXL, this is Chicago Tough 23, the owner of the Buccaneers again, coming to you with another state of the MXL. This is kind of a pre-playoff um, kind of just preview, I guess. This is looking at a few divisions, specifically a few owners who've stepped it up lately, kind of making a comeback this season after a down start to the year. So before I do that, before I get into any of the playoff stuff or any of these kind of up and coming teams, I want to touch base on what I left off with last time, which was the interception slider. That I felt the interception slider was kind of an issue, not a huge issue, but because we all deal with it. But I felt like I was just dropping quite a few picks. So what I've done was, because I noticed in a little more, analyzing of it, noticed that my corners were the ones who were dropping the passes specifically. Seemed like my linebackers and safeties did a pretty nice job still of catching them, or at least the drops were more consistent with no slider change. But now what I've done is I've gone and upped my uh, catch trait in the XP field. So it seemed to really help. I had Darrell Revis dropping everything for a while, and he was at like, I want to say it was like 66 catch or 67 catch. And now I have him up, I want to say it's 70 catch, and he's catching everything now. He went from having one interception to having like four more in the next 3 weeks after I changed it, and he was dropping a ton early. So I think it really would behoove you to take a look at maybe upping your corners catch. I know that we all work on things like zone coverage, man coverage, whatever it may be, awareness and all that other stuff. But I mean, if you get your guy in the right spot and he drops that pick, I mean, that can be a game changer. So that may be kind of a column you want to look into as far as upping that trait, because I do think if you call the right defense and you kind of anticipate correctly, you deserve the turnover if they're going to throw it to you. So just something to keep in mind. But anyway, let's get back to these teams that I want to discuss, starting with the Detroit Lions and Nexus. Looks like he started the season losing 5 of 6 for a terrible start, obviously, but then now he's on a 6-game winning streak. And I mean, this is, he's rolling guys here. This is great. So let's see here. NFC North. So he is at 8-6 in the NFC North. Now the Bears are also another team I'll get to shortly, but the Bears are 8-5, the Packers are 8-5, and the Lions are 8-6. You have a really tight race for that division crown, and the Bears and the Packers and the Saints as well are also, they all have the 8-5 records. So that second wild card spot in the NFC is just straight up for grabs. And the cool thing is that the Bears are playing the Saints this week. So I mean, you have that'll basically decide that right there, because one of them's going to drop basically not out of the wild card race, but it's going to hurt their chances. And then the Packers have a big matchup against the Buccaneers, who lead their division as well this week. So there's going to be a lot decided over there. There's some tough games, some tough matchups. So we'll see who comes out of that. But anyway, Nexus, good work. The Lions, good work. Keep it up, and hopefully you can produce this kind of production next season. And instead of losing 5 out of your first 6, maybe you can win 5 out of your first 6 and put yourself in a better spot so you can run away with this division. I think it's a winnable division. I think that you're learning as you go, and if you can control turnovers, I think you'll be in good shape. So next, since we're here, let's talk about the Bears. And the reason I want to talk about the Bears is because they are on I want to say their third owner in this season alone. And the owner is a longtime owner, Tonka Truck, who just got his PS4. I want to say he's only had the game for like a few days, and he comes right out of the gate and takes down the Broncos, who were 9-3 at the time, and he just has his way with them on offense, which is impressive. Then next game he comes out and at the time takes down the division leading Packers, who are a perennial playoff team. So the guy clearly has got a winning formula. I mean, there's no question about that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next season. I mean, you're looking at, this season, he's obviously still right there for the playoffs, but even no matter what happens this season, I'm kind of excited to see him, the Lions, and the Packers go to battle for this division because I think it's going to be a tight race next season. I'm really looking forward to see how that shakes out. And I think it's going to be great. So we'll see what happens with them. And then the other team I wanted to look at was the Patriots. And let me go to their division here on the computer. So you see they're 6-8, which isn't great, but again, he started off losing 5 of 6, and he's really stormed back to do a nice job. I think turnovers initially were the issue, and it seems like some of that's been reined in. I don't know if turnovers are paid attention to enough. I think that if you start throwing cavalier picks and interceptions and you kind of like, oh, well, it happens. I mean, sure, it does. Everyone throws picks and, that fumbles happen and this, that, and the other. But, I mean, realistically, I was looking at the stats yesterday. I can tell you that the top turnover ratio teams, the teams with the least amount of turnovers, let's say, are the top teams in the league standing-wise. I mean, it's not like some are. It's like literally the top 8 or 10 teams are all the teams with the best record. I mean, that's just the way it is. You don't turn the ball over, you win. You can play some decent defense and don't turn the ball over. You really don't need much of an offense. You just need your offense to show up, not turn the ball over, get you between 14 to 21 points, which in 10-minute quarters is really not that much to ask. You just want, 2 or 3 touchdown drives, maybe a field goal here and there. You don't need 50 points, 60 points, or some crazy output, So just keep that in mind. That's something I was noticing when I was looking at the stats, obviously. And I know that's a truism for the NFL in general, but I just wanted to speak to it in the MXL because, some of these numbers, I mean, you're looking at 40-plus turnovers, and we're only through, 13 games? A couple teams are through 14 games. So, I don't know. Just my opinion on that. I think if you limit your turnovers, play good defense, you're in good shape. So, anyway, the Patriots, I'm excited to see what he can do. It seems like he's got a lot more confidence, too, in what he's doing and how he's playing. I'd like to see if he can challenge BBW and the Dolphins for the division crown in the AFC East, or now that he's kind of got it together, I'm thinking maybe a wild card berth might be a possibility. Excuse me. So that division, that's kind of the review of that division. The Jets, they're still trying to find it, I think. They don't rush the ball quite as much as I think they should. And the Bills, they've had some good victories this season, but I think the Bills still have some work to do as well. So let's go to a couple other divisions. But those are the 3 teams I wanted to touch on as far as kind of where they're at and kind of what they need to do to make the playoffs and then what they need to do for next season. So AFC North is pretty cut and dry. We've got the Ravens at 11-2. Running away with it, the next team closest is the Browns at 8-5. So looks like 1 win for the Ravens, and they are going to secure the division and maybe even the 2 seed. Let's look a little deeper. The Bengals 3-9-1. I don't know what's up with that. I think the guy was like 12-4 last season, so I don't know what's up with the Bengals, but hopefully they figure it out. Let's look at the AFC South. So he is at the Colts. He is at 11-2, securely in charge of that division. Texans are behind him at 9-4, but he owns a tiebreaker because the Colts have beaten the Texans twice. And then the Titans are intriguing. They're a new owner, Jeff, who has taken them over and wants to make some moves. I know he tried to sign Jake Locker to a long-term contract, and Locker denied that contract. So he has a big decision to make as far as if he is going to franchise Locker or if he's going to hit the free agent market. So that could be an interesting pickup for somebody in free agency. Let's go to AFC East we looked at. Let's look at the AFC West. So here we got a good race going on. Chiefs and the Broncos between Hooley of the Broncos and DG of the Chiefs. So let's see how this shakes out. The Raiders and the Chargers are out of it, so they're not sniffing the playoffs. But the Chiefs are a wicked running attack. I think we all know that. I think he could be very dangerous in the playoffs, so look out for him. We looked at the NFC North. Let's look at the NFC South. The Buccaneers right now are firmly in command at 11-2. The Saints are behind them in second place at 8-5. Then the Falcons and the Panthers are out of it. So I think the Buccaneers with one more victory can secure their division and the 2 seed, I believe. Let's see here, NFC East. This is so the Giants right now are at 8-5 and lead the division. The Cowboys are at 7-6, and they have some work to do. They're going to have to get some wins here towards the end, and I think to make the playoffs, the Cowboys are really going to need to win that division. So I want to say they have a matchup with the Giants in Week 17, so that is going to be one I want to see streamed, and hopefully it's for the crown. That would be great. That's ideal. The Eagles and the Redskins are out of the race at this time. Let's look at the NFC West. This is one. Seahawks, 12-1. Running away with it, looking like he's going to secure the 1 seed. The Rams at 11-1-1. Tough. It's tough. I mean, he's going to end up with the 2 seed probably, and with 11. I mean, or with the not the 2 seed, the wild card, which is rough. But the division is what it is. 2 players of that caliber in the same division, and that sort of thing can happen. So I kind of like the Seahawks as the 1 seed then in the NFC. And I like the Buccaneers as the 2 seed. And then I'm going to go out on a limb here, little prediction. I'm going to say that the Packers end up pulling out the division in the NFC North. I like let's take a look. I like the Giants to pull out the division in the NFC East. And then the NFC South, I like the Buccaneers. And so my wild cards for the NFC then would be the Rams, as they would be the 5, and then Saints, I like to make it in as the 6th. And then so for going back to the AFC, I like as your 1 and 2 seed, I like the Colts as the 1 seed, the Ravens as the 2 seed. And then I want to say for the wild cards, I like Houston Texans and the Broncos. Let's take a look. And then I like DG to win his division. That's the Chiefs to win the West. And I like the Dolphins, who are running away with the AFC East also. So we're going to have a lot of the typical teams who are usually in it late in the playoffs, kind of in the playoffs again. I know the Ravens are kind of a new entry to the playoffs, so good luck to them going forward. Hopefully they'll get a bye and they can have some success in the playoffs. So at this point, I just want to let you guys know that what I'm going to do is in probably I'd say a week and a half, I want to do a playoff preview video. This is kind of this is a playoff preview, but this is when we don't actually know who's in it, so it's kind of a half-assed one where I'm just making predictions and assumptions based upon what I see. But I'd like to do one that dives a little bit more into the numbers of kind of what we can look for in each game, and then how to stop each guy or how to take advantage of a specific thing that a guy does. And I'm not going to get to the point where we're going to get detailed into plays or schemes, but maybe if you take away one particular thing, then the guy, you may be able to stop him. So we'll look into that a little bit, see what the numbers say. We'll look at turnover numbers, third down conversions, red zone efficiency, etc. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Look for probably, I'd say, next week as well. I'm going to do a video on kind of a how-to video on how I would come up with let's say a blitz or a scheme or whatever it may be. But it's just kind of the process I would go through as far as what am I looking for. How do I test it? And exactly the step-by-step, even the small things like having 2 controllers, I'll go through it all. Because it's more important to, I think, than to show just a particular play. I think it's important to get the full effect of how it's done. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and hope you enjoyed it.